Mann som verkar bruka snuttelur.
The video in the background is just me messing around creating a rudimentary representation of a modular vehicle platform. Yeah, it looks pretty childlike, but there's a bigger point to this right now. While vehicle platforms are not a new concept and have been used by the auto industry for 100 years or so, the thing that I've been thinking about for a few years now is, why are we, the people, the working class, why are we not making our own open source modular vehicle platform? So this is another video that I've been wanting to make, and it is called "We Need an Open Source Modular Vehicle Platform." If you are not familiar with the term open source, that comes from the information technology and software development fields. Basically, what it means is that software is openly published and shared with the people all over the world so that they can use it and modify it as they please. I hear a lot of people complaining on the internet about, like, it has become impossible to work on cars, and auto technicians are leaving the industry, and we hate driving these smartphones with wheels, and who asked for this autonomous driving crap? And of course things like intentionally designed to break right after the warranty expires, and this right to repair fight that everyone is dealing with now. I've seen lots of videos about how car production quality has declined to where brand new cars have engine failures in under 20,000 miles, door and body panel misalignments, interior slop, and awful software hassles. When my father and I talk about cars, I always say to him, you know, they've been building cars for, 120 years now, and you'd think they'd have it figured out by now? I grew up working on cars. When I was very young, I asked my mother, why does Daddy like working on cars so much? The fact was, we didn't have a lot of money back then, and we couldn't afford a mechanic back in the 80s, so Dad would often stop by Chief Auto Parts to fix a burnout alternator or starter or replace spark plug wires or whatever, and basically fix the cars in the apartment parking lot or in our driveway. And if you're from working class America, you likely saw your parents' cars' hoods up and popped up and watching Mom or Dad wrenching underneath it. Both my mother and I worked on cars, so we were self-sufficient and understood if something broke, we could fix it, so we could fix it on the side of the road to get home or fix it when we got home. And I actually rebuilt my first engine and braking system at 15 years old on an old Dodge that my father and I bought from some old farmer that was sitting next to a barn out in the country. So working on cars, what basically started out as a necessity to get to work and school, eventually gave way to tinkering with cars for fun. I grew up in a Dodge and a Ford family and spent more hours and more money than I'd like to admit fooling around with cars. My love of science during public schooling and working on cars out of necessity led me down a path of mechanics and into the career of science, technology, and eventually programming. I cannot say enough how mechanics is such a great foundation for understanding systems engineering while understanding both the forest and the trees. So with that backstory out of the way, I really feel that humanity needs to start open sourcing so many other things than just software. We have the technology right now to interconnect with each other via the internet. And what has been burning inside me that I want to scream into the void is that all the gearheads, auto technicians, tuners, and shade tree mechanics out there, right now, because of the internet and all the various technologies that we have at hand, we can actually start creating an open source vehicle platform. We all know of the issues and the things that we hate with modern cars, and a lot of us know what we would change and how we would design it for the better. There are many 3D CAD, computer-aided design softwares out there, like this dinky one you're watching here on this video right now, that can be used to make basic things. And there are more professional versions out there that are actually used in engineering that you can get access to. So all you gearheads and technicians out there, if you learn to play with these CAD programs, you could design things on your own and make them better. Sure, you may not have a CNC machine or a 3D printer, but you could work with someone you know to make your parts come to life Or you could work with someone within the open source community to make your ideas come to life. Consider this open source vehicle platform community. We could have a few hundred chassis fabrication specialists spread out all over America, or perhaps thousands all over the world, who would build out a modular chassis system. Similarly, we'd have hundreds, maybe thousands of CNC shops who could make engine blocks, heads, intake manifolds, and so forth. They could work with the open source chassis fabricators to make sure that the system is modular, like the engine mounts, and ensure that the engines would fit, especially making it to where there is room to actually do maintenance. And furthermore, gearheads could work with chassis makers to use their various engines of choice, like all the old engines in junkyards and stuff. And the same goes with transmissions and rear end assemblies. You could work with rear end assemblers, or you could work with the existing Ford 9 inches out there and the Danas and the Mopar things out there. Folks who are good with computer tuning and computer controls, who use fuel injection and engine management systems, could bring in their wizardry, while the old G's who know about like points and condensers and the electronic ignition, and those guys and gals who can do carb tuning, they could lend their hands on the community out there. As far as body panels go, that would have to come down to people who know how to lay fiberglass and do fiberglass shaping and things like that, and those old school guys and gals out there who can do metal forming. And they could work with the chassis engineers and the engine makers to make sure everything is modular and compatible and workable, and make it easy for people to work on these modular vehicle platforms. As far as stamping out aluminum body panels or doing molding of plastic panels, that's going to require specialized and expensive tooling. But hey, one step at a time, and there's always crowdfunding. I'm not as plugged in to what is all available these days in the car aftermarket parts scene, but I imagine that with community effort, a modular vehicle platform could be made to use really good aftermarket brakes and transmissions and drive shafts and radiators and all that good stuff. But see it this way. An open source vehicle platform would be like those kit cars you see, like the old Shelby Cobras and GT40s and 32 Fords. Sorry for the Ford bias there. But instead of just one company doing the design and kitting of those cars, humanity is building its own open source kit car. And the thing is, we all can have a hand in the project. We can take part in something amazing and awesome. You could be working with your next door neighbor or someone way across the world and creating some really cool things and share it. With an open source vehicle platform, there could be wide and deep research and development and what works and doesn't work. Issues could come up and be solved in a public forum. And yeah, there's going to be hiccups. There's going to be design issues and people's egos to deal with, and logistics and bad designs and greedy people and jealous people and envy and all that kind of stuff. But that's just part of the human condition we're going to have to work through. And I can read all the troll comments now. Oh, it'll never work. You can't get people to do this. People are too yada yada yada. Have you even tried this? Have we even tried this? For example, look at Linux. It's 30 years old or something like that now. We have all these operating systems. And sure, it's computer, but we can apply the same principles to the analog reality that we live in. So open source can work. We just have to find the right people with the right attitudes and motivations. Sure, we're going to have issues and failures as part of the process, and it's not going to be easy at first. It never is. But there is a bigger end goal we should realize. And another aspect of having an open source modular vehicle platform is that it's going to force all the big automakers to stop with their terrible design ideas and forcing all these things that we the consumers don't want. Supposedly we live in a free market, but no one, to my knowledge, asked for all these automated driving things and things like that. We've been conditioned for decades to desire what the automobile manufacturers want. Somebody gets an idea of let's do this or let's do that. Let's add this bell or add this whistle so we can sell more and we can outsell our competitors. As technology has evolved, and now with the real-time internet access of vehicles, they can now take the software as a service platform and make it everything as a service platform. So now if you want heated seats, they'll build the seats in with the heating coils, but you'll have to pay a monthly subscription fee to get heated seats, or they'll put the hardware inside the vehicle, but you're going to have to pay a monthly fee if you want to use it, or they'll disable it. You know, with an open source modular vehicle platform, we can get away from that kind of thing. We can get away from the hassles of not being able to repair our vehicle, or having to go to the dealership and spend, $150 or $200 just to do a diagnostic. We can force Big Auto to say, hey, wake up, stop these horrible practices, stop this crappy engineering, stop this software as a service mentality, stop delivering horrible build quality, get your act together, or we are going to build our own modular vehicle platforms that we can design ourselves. And that will wake them up and make them realize they need to stop shoving all this crappy business model down our throats and just letting us accept whatever they give us. An open source modular vehicle platform program is going to shake them out of complacency and make them realize they need to listen to the consumer. They need to get their act together. The really, really cool thing is that we, the people, put control back into our hands and are no longer subjected to what the centralized automakers dictate to us, what we get and what we have to deal with, especially with right to repair and these subscription services. We'd all have a hand in building something new and better. It would be such a great way to build communities. It would be such a great way for people to learn STEM, science, technology, engineering, and mathematics, hands-on in real time. And that's what we need in this 21st century. And to me, making a better vehicle that is built well, will last longer, is easier to work on, isn't locked down by proprietary software and design engineering, and can be tailored to your needs, that is cool. That is empowering. That is freedom of choice. That is having a hand in your own destiny. And that is a spirit of open source technology that needs to bleed over into the analog, real world, like vehicles and so much else. Open source has done amazing things in the world of computing and information technology, especially with Linux. So just think of the immense possibilities of an open source vehicle platform. Dare to think boldly outside the box.